Let's rock! Hello, everybody. My name is Sniping is Fun, and I welcome you all back to the next character in this long-running series of various newcomer ideas for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, the Super Smash Bros. Series in general. We're on the road to 150, and I am here officially at 130. So after this video, I have only 20 more characters to go, and I'm finally done. Thank you! But yeah, as I mentioned last time in the character video 129, Banjo and Kazooie, talking about the very iconic third-party character that everyone and their mothers are talking about for Smash Brothers. Here's another character I see a lot of people mentioning too, and even with as little of Nintendo appearances as this character has had, I still want to talk about it because anything's possible, anything can change, and this character series could start appearing more on Nintendo Switch and beyond that. And that's, as mentioned in the last video, when I changed the thumbnail and the name of the video, the picture right here, I already spoiled it. It's Dante from Devil May Cry. So, without further ado, let's get this video started before it goes on too long. The intro goes on too long. Why does the character make sense? Moveset ideas, and percentage chance I could actually see them getting in the game. Now, why does Devil May Cry deserve representation? Why Dante? Well, he's the main character, so we can't really even say that. But why does Devil May Cry, a franchise that has only really ever had spin-offs, and not even major game appearances, why would that deserve it over like a Capcom character, for example, or other third parties? But in this regard, Capcom characters that have more history. Resident Evil, the Ace Attorney series, Monster Hunter. Like, why would they pick Devil May Cry over those three, which all have long histories with Nintendo? Well, it is one of Capcom's hugest franchises. Now, it's not as huge as, say, I definitely know it's not as huge as Monster Hunter, and it's really not as huge as Resident Evil. It's at least on the point of Ace Attorney, but it is still one of their hugest franchises. They have like 6 to 8 freaking very hugely popular franchises. Versus Capcom's, the entity is still popular. Street Fighter, Mega Man, Resident Evil, Monster Hunter, Ace Attorney, Devil May Cry. It's like they have some of the biggest, most popular as a third-party franchises, iconic out there. It is one of their hugest franchises, one of their more longer-running franchises. Now, it's not as long-running as, say, Mega Man and Street Fighter, but since the early 2000s with the first Devil May Cry, now we're going on Devil May Cry 5. That's on its way, so it's a big advertisement for Nintendo and Capcom to do this. Even though the game is not scheduled for a Switch release, it could possibly get a Switch release at some point, but even then, they would probably want to do it just so it helps push Smash Bros., which would then help push Devil May Cry, get more fans into both. So in and of itself, that's a pretty good reason anyways. It helps boost Devil May Cry up. Devil May Cry would probably be the series that would get the biggest push from a Smash Bros. Inclusion. Monster Hunter is already huge. Ace Attorney is pretty much already freaking huge. Resident Evil is already freaking damn huge. They would be getting iconic pushes, but a franchise that you want to raise the popularity up a whole heck of a lot would be Devil May Cry. So from a business perspective, I think Capcom would be smarter to put a character that the franchise would benefit more from a Smash Bros. Inclusion, rather than just looking at what's iconic and what's closer to Nintendo. So in itself, it's probably a business decision. If Capcom gave them the choice to do a Devil May Cry character, it would probably be the franchise they would pick to get the most benefits from. Because it would increase the series' popularity and more people would buy it. And then that would probably push for the series to start showing more up on Nintendo, which anything's possible. No one would have thought Monster Hunter Tri would have came out to the Nintendo Wii and whatnot. And then Monster Hunter became a very big third party on Nintendo. Resident Evil started off on PlayStation and whatnot, and then had numerous appearances on Nintendo, one of which is the recent game. Ace Attorney is huge on Nintendo. Like, there's franchises that maybe never had appearances on Nintendo or had appearances that disappeared but came back or made their debut. Anything's possible with these third parties, and when they see how much the Switch is selling, and how much Nintendo's pushing this thing, they probably start jumping over putting their games on. So really, it all comes down to how they would want to push it. So like I said, it's probably a marketing choice. Nintendo's picking the characters. Capcom would want to push probably one of their franchises that probably could get the most exposure from this inclusion. It is a huge third-party franchise from one of their more popular franchises. And Dante and Devil May Cry have crossovers on Nintendo before. Project Cross Zone, the series, had Dante and I think Lady and I can't remember some of the other characters show up in the stuff. And I think there was like that SNK Capcom card game that was on the DS. There was Dante and other Devil May Cry characters as cards in there. And numerous other appearances Dante has made in little Easter eggs and spin-offs like on Nintendo systems. So it's like has a history of crossovers, and not even just on Nintendo. He was in the versus Capcom, Marvel vs. Capcom games, Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and Infinite. So Smash Bros. Is a crossover game. They would want to put over me a crossover character. He's a potential choice, I think. I don't know. It all depends. Moveset ideas. Now, I'm kind of taking a mix of, like, what I want to do is take a mix of, like, his different weaponry, his different attacks from the different, Devil May Cry games. I don't want it to just be, okay, I just want to represent Devil May Cry 3 or 5 or 1. I want to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I want to represent mostly everything with his moveset. I did the picture here. This is specifically Devil May Cry 5. Dante, but I would assume maybe before I even get onto the moveset, he would have Devil May Cry 5 as a costume, and then either Devil May Cry 1 or 3 as the other costume. So it all depends. Or they would want to go for shirtless Dante and pull a Shulk or a, Zero Suit Samus and make, shirtless Dante. Oh, the girls would go crazy. But I would say older Dante from Devil May Cry 5 and then the younger one from 3 or 1 would be his costumes. But like I said, mix of movesets. So before I even get started, since it'd be pretty freaking obvious if you've actually ever played a Devil May Cry game, he's very combo heavy. The game emphasis on combat very heavily includes combos. So he's a very combo heavy character. You can do sword, gun, slice, knock him in the air, and if you do it all correctly, you can go probably for a 10 plus hit combo, like you can do in Marvel vs. Capcom. So he's very combo heavy if you know how to freaking use him. But his smash attacks are all going to be, and I know people are going to complain, but he has a sword. It's inevitable. It's a popular weapon. Stop complaining. But yes, his sword attacks will basically be his smash attacks. I wanted to include 2 of his more popular swords, one of which is the Rebellion, which is the one he majorly used before 5, and then Sparta, which I think is the one he uses more so in 5. So some of his A attacks, his smash attacks will be the Sparta, and some of them will be the Rebellion. If you played Devil May Cry 3, you know exactly what the Rebellion is. I think that's the same sword he had in 1 and 2. I don't know about 4. I never played 4. And 5, I know the Sparta is included, I think, in the recent games, so probably 4 and 5. So it's a more demonic, devil-looking sword, and then Rebellion's like a long, big, broad sword. So he has some of his smash attacks out of the Sparta, some of attacks which are the Rebellion. And they're 2, as far as I remember, those are his two of his most iconic swords, so that's the reason why I wanted to include both, and not just one. Some he'll be like, Rebellion, come out! Sparta! Rebellion! So it won't be a switchable weapon like some of the characters I mentioned, like Miriam or Byleth or something, where you switch out the weapons. Some of the smash attacks would be the Rebellion. Some of the smash attacks would be the Sparta. And then when it comes to special attacks, it's going to be all like more so the weaponry, the guns and stuff like that. It's mostly going to be Ebony and Ivory, which are his 2 handgun pistols. So you can attack opponents from a distance. Ebony, Ivory, let's go! So you can combo heavy and be like shooting upwards, shooting diagonal, shooting left, shooting right, shooting down. Most of his special attacks will be the Ebony and Ivory stuff, for the most part, but not all of it. He also uses other guns too, and I didn't want him just to be a sword and handgun person, because that's like not only what Dante does. He also uses other guns, one of which is a shotgun, so you can include a shotgun for closer, higher damage ranged attacks. He can use, from Devil May Cry 4, there's a Pandora, which is basically a briefcase gun. He pulls out a briefcase and it turns into a gun, like a Gatling gun thing. And Devil May Cry 2, he has the Nightmare gun, which is a demonic laser gun, so he shoots the laser gun off. The Artemis, which is a gun from Devil May Cry 3, which is also another demonic laser gun. So if you want to just pick one or the other, you can go for one. But I wanted to include both because the Nightmare and the Artemis are 2 totally different guns. But they're both similar concept of nightmarish demonic laser guns. But so it takes away from, like, that not all his guns are realistic. Like not Ebony and Ivory or a handguns or a shotgun or a freaking Gatling gun from a briefcase. And then obviously from Devil May Cry 2, I wanted to include the missile launcher, so you freaking shoot off freaking missiles at each other. So there you go. So that's what I'm doing for special attacks. It's mostly going to be Ebony and Ivory, but there'll be some attacks with the shotgun, some attacks with the Pandora, the missile launcher, the Nightmare, and the Artemis, which is a good mix of guns from different games. So mostly so far, before we get to the final smash, I have Devil May Cry 5 represented with the Sparta, like Devil May Cry 1, 2, 3, I think 4 with Rebellion. Ebony and Ivory is just the entire series. He's done numerous games with the shotgun. Nightmare is Devil May Cry 2. The missile launcher is Devil May Cry 2. Pandora is Devil May Cry 4. The Artemis is Devil May Cry 3. He has different guns and weapons representing the span of Devil May Cry, not just 1 or 2 games. Every single game is represented, even 2. And I know you have your haters out there that hate 2. You have to represent it. It's still like a decent game in the series. And it's not as horrible as you guys make it out to be. It's just the weakest entry. But it's not horrible. Final Smash. What else can it be but the Devil Trigger? He turns into Devil Trigger form, and I'm going to say it's not going to be a cutscene based one because I say a lot for some of them, but he's going to turn Devil Trigger form, which he gets like the mask and the demonic armor, and I'm Devil Trigger Dante. And he just goes, and he'll just turn into it, and he'll just rush forward with a couple sword strikes, handgun things, and he just... So this is the stage. This will be him, and then when he puts it on forward, he'll rush forward within about maybe this much distance, shooting the gun out multiple times, and then just rushing forward with some big, super freaking sword strikes. Anyone that gets in his way will get loads of damage. He does the sword strikes last anyways, so high percent damage, boom, right off the stage. So that's it. So without further ado, we're on the third category, percentage chance I can see him getting in. It's not high, but it's not low either, because I think there's reasons to include him. I'm going to give him a 45% chance. He's definitely one of the lower Capcom characters I see them including, because I definitely see if we get, and like not just with the Fighter Pass DLC and Smash Bros. Ultimate, but with future games like Smash Bros. 6, 7, 8, like the chances of us getting another Capcom character would likely be Monster Hunter, Ace Attorney, Indoor, Resident Evil. Those franchises do still make more sense to include. They're still more iconic characters. They have closer histories with Nintendo, so on and so forth. More so than Devil May Cry. At least at this current time, I'm giving him 45% chance because we don't really have too much Devil May Cry, Dante, Devil May Cry, whatever, on Nintendo. It's only a little bit of crossover type games. But the future can change that. By the time the Switch ends, maybe Devil May Cry 5 or a Devil May Cry collection will be on the Switch. Maybe by the time Devil May Cry 6 comes out and Nintendo's 10th gen system comes out, it'll be considered alongside the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox 4. Whatever. Who knows? Nintendo's 10th gen system is successor to the Switch. Unless it comes out in the lifetime of the Switch, maybe it gets it. I don't know. Like, anything's possible. So I think us looking at percentages for a future Smash Bros. Game would have to give it time and see how Devil May Cry is used on Nintendo in the coming years, Switch or otherwise. But right now, I'd say 45% chance because it might just be a marketing choice by Capcom working with Nintendo to say, okay, we don't want you to include these franchises. We want you to include Dante and Devil May Cry. So because I think if Capcom was like very business-wise, marketing-wise, I think they'd want to pick a character in a franchise that could heavily use the marketing more so than the other three. So that's just me. And that's it for Devil May Cry Dante. Put in the comments, do you guys like this moveset? Would you change anything up? Would you include other weapons from his series? Because I wanted to kind of balance it out, different games in the series, but also mostly a lot of the gun-based stuff. The different swords, does that make sense? Or should it just be the Rebellion or just a Sparta? Because I think it'd be kind of cool to represent both. Very combo heavy, Devil Trigger, Final Smash, 45% too high, too low is my reasons for why he deserves to get in. Makes sense. Put it in the comment section down there and discuss it. My name is Sniper. It's fun. Peace, please subscribe if you want to. Have a lovely day. And when we return for character 131, we are going to be talking about the last and final Mortal Kombat character I want to talk about on this list. I've already talked about 3 of them so far. Sub-Zero, Scorpion, and Raiden. One more I want to talk about is Johnny Cage. Oh yeah. See y'all later.